And that is your cue, Stephen. All right, they're coming in. They're coming in. This is looking good.
All right.
We are streaming on the Facebook page, and Stephen, you're a co-host. Joseph, you're a co-host, and Tricia, you are a co-host. Stephen, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Sergeant Ken, and thank you all for tuning in tomorrow. I hope you can hear some of the celebrating in the background outside. It is Clap for Heroes time, 7 p.m. here in New York. Much needed hope and joy for our first responders. It is my favorite time of day, and I hope that you are safe and happy and spreading hope in your place of business and your city as well. Just a few housekeeping announcements before I turn the floor back over to Sergeant Ken and our incredible female power presenters this evening. You can go to the arrow next to your video and audio in the bottom left hand of the screen. If you're on your computer, you can enable HD, touch up your appearance. You have some options there. Here are the important things. Remember to stop sharing if you shared data on your screen in a previous in a previous Zoom that you were on earlier today. Please ask your quarantine, all the residents at your location, regardless of world health circumstances. Remind yourself as well to disengage all other devices and services that have the potential to interfere with Wi-Fi during the webinar. It won't only affect your broadcast, it has the potential to affect ours as well. You come on muted automatically. Please keep yourself muted until the end of our time together. Remember, although you've joined us to be inspired, you inspire we, the speakers, to be our best selves. Sometimes unexpected magic happens during Hope seminars, unplanned statements of clarity and motivation or practical application. When you hear something that resonates, please enter it into the chat bar along with your own aspirational thoughts and feelings about what you're hearing. The chat bar is located over to your left, and it should look like a thought bubble, and if you minimize your screen, it'll be side by side with what you're seeing. We humbly request that you introduce yourself and where you're from in chat. We would love to honor your presence. And remember, once you've written something in chat, please remember to deselect a particular person if you see the red word privately, or else we'll miss out on all your gold and we won't be able to interact with you because you won't be sending to everyone. With that, thank you once again for being here. I'll see you just for 90 seconds at the end for a closing, and I pass you back to Sergeant Ken immediately.
You're awesome. I'm so blessed to have such an amazing team, and we are going to really go on an amazing journey together. The beginning is really going to be raw. And I titled the introduction, The Power of the Pause. Prior to the virus crisis, I traveled approximately 250 days a year to multiple countries, speaking, teaching, and coaching others on fitness, leadership, and resilience training tactics. I had my routines when I traveled, such as packing particular possessions in a precise manner, rushing through the premier access lanes, sitting on the same seat at the airport lounge, and often avoiding conversation with those that were just a few inches away from me. I habitually put on my earphones to show my temporary new neighbors that I would rather be alone and isolated in a completely crowded plane. But it wasn't always like that. At the early stages of my steady travel several years ago, I was still eager and enthusiastic to explore moments of new discovery and community with the road warriors that were around me. As the travel intensified, I weaned away from the desire to discover the world around me, and instead I eventually lost the love of sightseeing and socializing. I chose the spirit of hustle over the heart of human connection. It worsened with each travel year, and in year after year, I lived in a state of perpetual mobility mode and felt extremely uneasy and imbalanced if my routines were impeded or interrupted. I was utterly exhausted all of the time and concealed it from the people I cared for. I felt that sharing my shortcomings was a sign of weakness. I later realized how humility is a sign of strength and splendor. Following each trip, it took me several days at home to recover enough to adequately function with my family. I was no longer growing inside, nor was I proactive as a parent. I was so focused on being busy that I did not see what I was becoming. The pandemic period forced me to rest and reflect long enough to recognize the destructive patterns that I was producing. I actually needed the disruption to discover that my actions were hindering me from becoming who I was meant to be. I was forced to sit and surrender to stillness. I had to subtract the stress to see the significance of serenity. Working on my inwardness helps my efforts of outwardness. I had to learn to sit in order to successfully serve others. I say again, I had to learn to sit in order to serve. What I call the power of the pause, speaker Robert Madu calls a necessary interruption. You ever watch NASCAR or any kind of speed car race? The racers use special strategies to weave vigilantly in and around the others while focusing on finishing first. They are dependent on the mechanical pit crew to restore and refuel the car regularly in order to endure the race. Without the necessary interruption, the car will probably collapse or possibly crash. I realize that some of you are still sitting on Struggle Street. I was there too. You need to believe that what you see as an unwanted interruption in your life may be the intermission before the best part of your show. Our greatest stories come from our strongest storms. A purposeful pause in your life is actually the opportunity for you to refresh, refuel, restore, renew, and create resolve. I now view the virus crisis as an indispensable intermission in my life. A crisis will make you grateful for something you once took for granted. The pandemic is not your opposition, but it's your opportunity. And Project Hope was formed to foster friendship, create unwavering connection and community, and to provide you the necessary strategies to face your problems, bounce back better than before, and become the champion of change. You see, there are two things that can happen to you when you face an obstacle of any kind: fall apart or bounce back. That's life. And resilience, often referred to as emotional fitness or mental toughness, is when you face adversity head on and bounce back better than before. What you go through, you grow through. Bounce Back Better is a comprehensive webinar workshop that identifies the essential skills that everyone must possess to possess strength in a storm and power over your problems. The main objectives of the program are to encourage and empower you to push for a positive perspective with every problem and become the champion of change, because your adversities are your advantages. We can't do it alone. Bounce Back Better features several speakers that openly share their personal stories and profound strategies to help you triumph over tough times. The common theme from them all is that the best things in life are always on the other side of struggle. Your struggle today is your strength tomorrow. So I ask you this, and we're going to use this chat bar right now. What does it mean for you to bounce back better, especially now? What does it mean for you? Put it in the chat bar. Place your responses there in the chat section. Share your thoughts. What does it mean to you to bounce back better? And as you're doing that, And I love what Tricia Silverman wrote, to connect with others. Oh, I love that, because I got to be really transparent. Obviously, this was probably the most raw introduction I've ever given out of all 6 episodes in Project Hope. And I know I needed to, because this has been a moment of self-discovery for me. I had to realize that sitting on Struggle Street, the only way I was going to get out was through friends. It took a pandemic. It took a pandemic for me to connect to my friends like I do today. Like I really do today. And I tell you, I embrace this connection. I embrace it. So let me allow me a moment to introduce our first speaker, Fiona. Fiona, with over 70 certifications and 24 years working in movement and wellness, Fiona Vanderwerf's credentials as a fitness professional are solid. As the owner and operator of Strong Fit Muskoka in Ontario, Canada, she raises the bar for achievement, accessibility for all ages. But what takes her the real distance is her spitfire enthusiasm and resilience. And holy moly, she has fun doing it. Her approach: life is now, well, let's not just count it, not just for us, but for others. And if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. And don't forget to smile. The world needs it more than ever. That's what Project Hope is all about: encouragement, optimism, growth, mindsets, humility with unrelenting faith, and a hint of hooah. Fiona's Ironman mindset speaks to a persevered life by living authentically without regret. She turns shadows into light for the underdog. We're not just doing different things, but doing things differently. So why not do it together with a sense of power, purpose, and fun? Because you are, in her own words, you are worth it. A play off of her last name. Oh, love this lady. So I'm going to bring her to the spotlight. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Take the stage.
Yay! How is everybody tonight? Look at all these people. And you're telling me in the middle of a pandemic when we're all supposed to be just thinking and perplexed, and look at all these people going, you know what? I know I can bounce back better. I know that this is just something we're passing through. This is a reflective time in our lives that we can really take as an opportunity. Right? So again, hi, I'm Fiona. I'm sitting right now in my very, very quiet and closed gym in Muskoka, recognizing that a few other people in here are also gym owners who are going, what are we doing? But you know what? One of the things that I've always known about me is that I bounce to the beat of a different beat that sometimes only I can hear. I have certainly been enthusiastic my whole life. I'm lucky enough, my sister is actually watching me tonight on Project Hope, and she can attest that I have been energetic since birth. So bouncing to me is certainly something that I always enjoy doing. I love to excel, but more importantly, I'm here to tell my story, but I am loving, I need to know what lights your fire, not to terribly misquote Jim Morrison, but what lights your fire? What gets you excelling? I saw Shelly smiling there for a second. Right? So I'd love to see some ideas going in the chat box to kind of let me know, what is inspiring you right now? What are you waking up to oh, Steve, don't tease me. I accidentally phone dialed Steve last night at 11:30 at night. But anyway, I digress. And oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, Joseph as well. So one of the things that I would love to share with you is not only the story that I've got, and I think as a person and also as a female, there are lots of stories that women have of not being comfortable about speaking up. When we look at the industry of personal training, up to 75% of your client base are going to be women, because women have been taught for the most part during their whole lives to think about looking better, being better, always improving. It's never enough to be who you are right now. And to live your whole life like that, it's creating a very fixed pattern. And how that relates back to resilience is absolutely innate in our brain, in our neural capacities. But over time, we learn unhealthy patterns through our own errors that we make, or just through things that happen to us. And those become fixed neurally. So it really is up to us to develop and change. And isn't it fantastic that we can actually change our brains throughout our whole lives? We can make changes, we can cross down different paths, and we can make adjustments. And for me, I'm so inspired to show people that path, because I have certainly been in a place where I couldn't see a path. I couldn't see a map. I didn't know where I was going to go, whether it was going to be a positive or just being stuck in a state. And if anyone there down out in Project Hope can also commiserate with that idea of just being in a place so impossibly dark that you don't know when the light went out. You know, and I think that's what threw me for the experience that I'm honestly, after 25 years, finally comfortable sharing. People close to me know a little bit about my story. One of them, I've lived, I think, 20 lives. But this story was about not realizing I was going down a dark path until I was there. And I grew up in a wonderful family, great siblings, shout out. And I went to a wonderful school where we are taught to be our best, do our best, excel beyond. You are so much more capable of what you think you are. So a wonderful growth mindset education. So I went to university, fired up, excited. I wanted to be a forensic anthropologist. Like, that was my goal. And then I hit a pebble. And that pebble was a relationship. I had met somebody who was in a dark place, who was so lacking in love, who hadn't had an upbringing where they were appreciated and loved, that I felt just drawn to make that change. I needed to show love and affection and absolute just selfless love to make them better, to lift them up, to draw them towards this light that I had. And unfortunately, what could happen sometimes is that when you bring people close to your light, some of them light their own match to warm and keep the light bigger, or they take it from you. And this selflessness that I had towards love and towards caring for another human being was slowly taken from me in bits and pieces by a selfish person that, unfortunately, I can look back now and understand that they weren't able to love in a way that was safe and decent. And I can look at that 25 years later. But at the time, it was a very scary place. 25 years ago, harassment laws were not there. My university was not able to protect me. Our relationship descended very quickly. I broke up several times with this person because my gut, you know, that feeling like right here, that tells us something isn't right. Well, you know what? That's biological. That's an innate sense from millions of years ago. We should always listen to it. And I didn't. And I kept going back because I kept thinking, well, maybe this time I can change it. This time I can change it. Unfortunately, my situation turned into stalking, where my life was turned upside down, and I was in such a state of shock that somebody was taking my light that I didn't want to tell other people. So I kept it just into my heart and to myself. This person would break into my places where I was living and write notes about wanting to take my life. And the first time that happened, I actually went to the campus police because I thought they were there to help me, because that's what police do. And they told me that I should be flattered that somebody liked me that much. That maybe if I sat and had a coffee with them, you could just maybe chill them out because, you know, you're overreacting. They were just really upset. And lots of scenarios like that. But of course, what we, you know, going through that was very unsettling. And it ended up, I ended up needing to go to my professors in my school and saying that I couldn't attend their classes anymore because I had somebody waiting outside the door that wanted to hurt me. And campus police wouldn't help me because they were alumni. And alumni were able to be on the campus. So it descended to that place where, and that was my first bounce back, even though I didn't realize it at the time, that I needed to be able to appreciate that no one was going to look out for me except me. The second ball drop kind of that I had that I learned to bounce back was that when I did finally go to the police after they came at me, the police had told me that until he actually threatened me with a knife or a physical weapon, they couldn't do anything about it. But because he did push me up against a wall and grab my neck, and I had a partner pull him off me, that they could definitely get a restraining order in. So I went, okay, that's really good, that's good. So unfortunately, we worked at the same place on campus. So I would still see them from time to time because, of course, you know, the 300 feet thing never worked. We all know that. And that was another ball. And my final ball was raw exposure, where the last bit of light that I had in my heart, in my life, and in the potential for a scenario went. My light was gone. And what had happened was I had been working late. It was a deadline at the newspaper. And I was in the office with a group of editors who were all male, except me. And this person, and I look back at the audacity of this, and I was in such a terrible place that I couldn't see this as a danger, came up and cornered me in a way that I couldn't move, and pulled out his genitalia and put it on the desk in front of me. And my life went dark. I went home that night and I sat in my bed, and there was no light left. There was no emotion. Every light that I had went out. I stayed in that room for 3 days and didn't move, and I just sat there. And from that darkness made me better, and it brought me somewhere because no one else was going to take me there except myself. So the bouncing back for me was, you know, first ball was the idea that this lack of self-worth that somebody tried to put on me, I was able to look at the light that I didn't have, and I started to shine it in all those dark places in my life. And with that light shining on it, I was able to tell more people what was going on. I eventually took that person to court and successfully proved that they did what they said they did. I was lucky enough to have photographic proof and letters, and I'd saved everything that they had done, tied up, ripped apart, and I was able to verify and validate that this had happened. But I did that myself. And that was a light that went. That idea of, I started to feel my worth again. And I realized that my worth needed to be somewhere else. So I finished out the school year and decided to move to Israel to work on a kibbutz, which, if you know me, you know that that was a bit of a stretch. But I realized that I needed to go somewhere completely opposite. And what I think I was looking for was trying to find and validate my faith, that I needed to build back up, because I've been looking down so long, I couldn't find my path, and I needed to find my light, and I needed to go and find it absolutely somewhere else. So my turning points were just that I did have beauty, and I did have this amazing worth that I found, that I grew by living overseas for a while, saying yes to lots of adventures, which could be another whole podcast. But I came back from there healed. I came back with a sense of worth, and I was able to build back and find my own light through just trusting my own light, trusting that strength I had over my situation. You know, recognizing that in that absolute darkness, I knew I couldn't do it anymore by myself. So I had to reach out to other people. I reached out to family, some of whom were very surprised at what was going on, the extent. The friends that I reached out to almost 3 decades ago are still among my closest friends. The school changed and created harassment laws and guidelines, zero tolerance policy based on the scenario that I went through. That person was banned completely from campus, which made me feel better, even though I wasn't there anymore, but it made me feel better. And I started to realize that I could be an advocate for myself. And once you realize that you can be an advocate for yourself and you can change things, then you start thinking, it's got to be bigger than this. We're on this planet to be with each other, and it's got to be bigger than this. So that whole idea of, gosh, I wonder if I could turn shadows into light for other people, led me down this path of coaching, of training other people, of showing people how much more they're capable of than they're seeing, because I know what it's like to not see you. I know what it's like to not see your potential. And I know what it's like when people want to take that light that you do have from you. That validation that I want to present to you, that you can get it back, but you get it back better. You actually bounce back better. It's so true. So when I knew we were doing this today, I'm like, oh, I got a story to tell. Absolutely. And never be afraid. Never be afraid. See, the funny thing about the genitalia on the desk is that from some weird level, it was about, you know, having the, you know, proverbial balls. Sorry, I hope that's not offensive. But you know what, man, oh man, like I ended up having the biggest balls. I truly did. So hopefully that's not too graphic there, Sergeant Ken. But just that audacity, I was never afraid after that. And don't get me wrong, I've had things for the rest of throughout my life that, you know, I've had to double check and look at that resilience again. But you know what? I know that I work in light, and I work in strength. And most importantly, I work in faith. I do have a profound sense of God, and whether you have God in your life or you have faith, it's about having faith in yourself first, because then you can spread that faith to other people. You can spread that light to other people, and you can spread that strength. And never be afraid to help someone else. never be afraid to reach out to other people, and never be afraid to advocate. And it's so timely with everything that's going on right now in the States. And I think of everybody going through these times. It is never, never wrong to advocate for something better. And it's never wrong to advocate to have your light grow bigger and to give other people matches so they can bring that light to themselves. And if you have the potential, either in your job or your career, to light and inspire other people, to change the map, show them the direction, you got to do it. You got to do it because your gut says you got to. And when you don't listen to your gut, thanks, Steph. When you don't listen, you can't hear other people telling you. You gotta hear the voices here and on either side of your shoulder telling you that you're so much bigger than the situation you're in. You have others that are there to help. And when I look back on my career so far of the people that I've met, the fact that I've been able to compete at a world level for bodybuilding brought me that ability to look at myself and go, you know what, like there's some beauty there, Chica. Let's go rock it on stage and have fun with it, right? It's very powerful to do that. And it's in all of us, and it's in every one of you. And more importantly, we get to do this for other people. So it's nice to have my light. It's nice that I feel blessed, and I feel so darn lucky because I've worked hard for where I'm at, but I get to bring that light to others. So when I talk about my tagline for my career being, I turn shadows into light for the underdog, I will fight to the very end to make sure everyone gets an opportunity to feel and experience life the way I do. And that's my thing. And I'd love to know if anyone else has ever kind of, you know, had that opportunity to bring light to others. I think our speakers have. I know Sergeant Ken has. Every time Sergeant Ken's been at CanFit Pro, I'm there with my little notebook, writing everything down. Oh, he told me to read that book. He suggested this book, because you know what? He is right. We are better sailors for having gone through really tough tides. We really are. And we have to share, and we have to grow with each other and make people better. And we have to love, but we have to start with loving ourselves first. Okay?
Wow, what a way to start this episode. You are amazing!
Thanks,
Oh my
Ken.
goodness. Oh, you got the call to action, people. You've got number 1, trust your light. Number 2, be an advocate. And number 3, don't be afraid to change the map route. And again, please put your own comments in the chat bar so that we can treat this with a little bit of an organic quality, because we can learn from each other. Mm-hmm. All of us. That's the whole point of Project Hope. You know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Absolutely amazing. Wow. What a way to start this episode. Yeah, that's right, girl. Box it out. Box it out. Allow me a moment to introduce our next speaker. Maki. Wow, what a good friend. Really, to come on board and do this. Maki's passion is to help her clients reach their health and wellness goals. She has worked as a personal trainer and fitness instructor for the past 37 years and became a wellness coach 10 years ago. As an adjunct professor of the Department of Exercise and Sports at North Park University, she taught the next generation of fitness and allied health professionals and physical educators for 7 years. She earned her Bachelor's of Science in Kinesiology from the University of Illinois at Chicago and a Master's in the Arts in Education from North Park University. Maki is a certified exercise physiologist with the American College of Sports Medicine and holds several additional certifications and credentials from numerous institutions. Born and raised in Chicago, she currently lives in Tampa, Florida. Maki works with her clients with compassion to help build a deep connection and trust. She thrives on helping her clients realize that their goals and potential in a way that is doable, sustainable, with mastery. Maki, take the stage.
Thank you, Sergeant Ken, and thank you for this opportunity to share my experience, strength, and hope with you and everybody else. It really is an honor to be a part of this project, Project Hope, helping other people endure. Wow. So, Fiona, thank you so much. That was really heartfelt, and I appreciate everything that you had to say. I hope that I can add to that for everyone else here that is listening in. But before we get started, I'm a little nervous, and so when I'm about to be vulnerable and share my story, I just like to take a moment to be quiet and still. So if everybody could join me for a quiet time, taking just a few deep breaths in and exhaling, just to center and ground this moment. Thank you. Before I get started with my story, I do want to say a little bit about my life today. And in a nutshell, my life is like beyond my wildest dreams. From where I came from and where I am today, I had never thought that I would ever finish my education and achieve even my master's degree. And those are all materialistic things. As I go on to tell my story, there's a lot more that you can't put a price tag on as a result of the things that I've walked through and how I overcame them, and the steps that helped me to get to where I am today. My life is full. I have a loving husband. I never thought that I would be married and have a man who loves and respects me. But aside from having completed my education, I have an amazing career, again, that I never thought that I would be instrumental and trusted by many people to help them in their lives, whether it's health, wellness, or just helping them get sober. My story is a story of recovery. But before I get into my story, I do want to give a little backdrop, because there are things that took place. There are things that took place before I even picked up. My mother came here from Japan. She had a dream. She met a man, fell in love, and then came to the States. About a month before my first birthday, my newborn brother accidentally died. That accident was a series of devastating incidences that led my mother to divorce my dad. Soon after, I was molested by a family member of the woman who was watching me, and again at 9 on the school playground. For the most part, my childhood was great. My mother remarried. Her life was changing. She was bouncing back. They had a second child, my little brother, and life was stable for the most part, for most of my childhood. However, I always felt different. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I was smart enough. I never felt like I really truly fit in. Being Asian American, living in a predominantly white neighborhood, I was continuously made fun of for the way I looked. And that was very confusing to me. Being half Japanese, I also looked different within my own family, from my parents and my younger brother. And it made me feel like, at least I was telling myself, it made me feel like I didn't belong. My mother also had, coming from Japan, she had high educational standards and a certain manner of living. And so she was really hard on me with my education, my studies, and what she valued. And that plays a big part into my perception and how I led into the life that the first path of my life. I started smoking pot when I was about 14 years old. At first, it was more about curiosity and experimentation. As I continued to use, it was more about the escape from myself and what I was feeling and thinking, and the stories that I told in my head. You see, I had a perception problem way before I smoked my first joint. I was always running from myself, reaching outside of myself to feel better, compromising myself to fit in, to be liked or loved. I didn't really know how else to cope. My distorted perception of myself, what others thought of me, how I viewed myself and the rest of the world, and most of all, feeling like I let my mother down, fueled my addiction and my teenage rebellion, which ultimately led me to get kicked out of the house when I was 15 years old and eventually living in random places for many years, or at least for the first couple years. I managed to stop getting high for a little while when I found out I was pregnant. I had 2 children by the age of 17 years old. About 9 months after my second child was born, I learned that my daughter was severe and profoundly mentally retarded. That was the way they termed it back then. During that time, my children's father and I separated. So I was 18 and with 2 young children, alone, lost, confused, and didn't really know what I was doing. And I didn't really have a support system. My parents had moved to California. I was still in Chicago. And my ex's family, they moved to Puerto Rico. So I was pretty much by myself. One thing that I can say, which is, I don't know if this is necessarily a bounce back moment, but how I look at this is that I always have felt that there were angels or people in my life that would come in, and especially during those dark and scary times of despair, to help me through in some way or another, whether to shelter me, clothe me, feed me and my children, or watch over my children when I couldn't. Life didn't really get better after I left their father. In fact, I found myself going out clubbing more, and eventually I was introduced to cocaine. Now, my addiction was heightened and awakened the moment I tried cocaine for the first time. So from age 18 and 29, my life was a train wreck. It didn't get better. I had moments where I was able to do some positive, like get my GED, and I did start taking college courses. I also got married and had a 3rd child by the age of 21. I hit several bottoms, each worse than the one before. But in efforts to not lose my children due to DCFS, I sent them away to be raised with family members. My parents and I were estranged at that time and for many years, even into my recovery. And I just was lost. I lost myself. I was filled with enormous amount of shame, remorse, regret, and disappointment. I was beaten down and broken by the time I entered the rooms. And by the rooms, I mean the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. When I entered the rooms, I didn't want to live, but I was too afraid to kill myself. I remember attending 2 or 3 12-step meetings very early on, but didn't get it. I really wasn't ready. When I was ready, so I thought, I started going to 12-step meetings regularly, but could not let go of people, places, and things that didn't support a life of sobriety. I really couldn't comprehend in the beginning the requirements that it would take for me to recover. So I eventually relapsed. I went to detox. I did a 28-day program and then eventually went into sober living. And I still didn't get it. I lost my job. I got high again. And then I did this dance, for about another month. I was tired. I had a taste of recovery and a glimpse of what life could be like if I would only stop relying on myself and other people and give in to this way of life, meaning sober. So on March 10th, 1994, I finally surrendered and became open, willing, and honest to go into any length to get and stay sober. So at this point, wouldn't necessarily be a bounce back moment, but it's the beginning of the bounce, right? So now I'm moving into victory over self because, I was fighting everything and anything, including myself. I have in the notes, through surrendering, there is freedom. Being vulnerable and honest with ourselves makes us courageous and strong. Grace is gifted through humility and trusting in a higher source. Peace and serenity flourishes from gratitude and acceptance. These concepts, these words, they're more than words on a page for me. This is how I live my life today, and this is how I bounce back whenever I'm faced with challenges. So some of the steps, I'm not going to go through every single one, but the ones that are most significant for me in bouncing back, the first one is about powerlessness. I mentioned surrender, but powerlessness over drugs and alcohol for me came through seeing the mess that I had created through my addiction, how my life was unmanageable emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I mean, I was spiritually bankrupt. Surrendering isn't about giving up on, is about giving up self-reliance and reliance on things that don't serve my higher self. Fiona talked about the higher self. I was dealing with a spiritual malady, mental obsession, and an allergy of the body. The only way that I was going to get better was to surrender and admit complete defeat over drugs and alcohol. The way I was able to do that was the power of the group, focusing on the we instead of I. And that's what we're doing here. So the power of the group members of the 12-step program, they helped me to see the powerlessness through the sharing of their own personal stories. They encouraged every member to keep coming back. As I did, I saw people's lives change. I heard countless stories of how they stayed sober through death, loss, financial hardship, life-threatening health issues. I also saw what happens when you go back out. Some never make it back. I've actually lost a few friends that way. For the first time in my life, which is something that I think I was longing for, I belonged. I was a part of a community where we supported one another, whether we just met them or we knew them for years. It didn't really matter where we came from. What really mattered the most is that we helped each other to stay sober one day at a time. The unity of the 12-step group was what gave me strength and hope to live a happy, sober life. And I can say today, at March 10th, I just celebrated 26 years. The other thing, thank you. Thank you. The other thing is living a day at a time. So in addition to, we have a lot of cliches in the 12-step program, but one of the other ones, other than saying keep coming back, was I was always told, and I always hear, stay sober just for today, one day at a time. Don't use, don't pick up. This concept for me is extremely powerful and one that is embedded into my daily life, even now more than ever. In my early days of sobriety, this phrase was more about not just for today, I remember days when I had to break my day down from 24 hours to an hour, and sometimes even a minute. This wasn't necessarily because I wanted to use, but it was more about maybe dealing with a situation or an emotion that was really overwhelming. And, you know, I'm learning how to live and cope a different kind of, in a sober way. Over time, the concept of living one day at a time evolved into present moment living. Present moment living. Being right here, right now. I have a friend that would tell me, I loved when he would tell me this, he still says it. He would tell me that today is a gift and you have all day to unwrap this gift. Life is doable and manageable when I live in today. The other part of staying focused in today is that it doesn't allow me to dwell too long or morbidly reflect in yesterday's events. The other day that I have no control over, and I know you guys have heard this before, is tomorrow. Worrying about future events does not bring me peace. What I can do is set goals, identify my vision for what I want today, and then I need to let go of the outcome and focus on the actions of the day that will lead me in realizing those goals for tomorrow. Now, like Fiona, I'm very strong in my faith. And if it weren't for faith, I don't know where I would be. So one of the steps in this program, the principles we call them, it was because of the 12-step program that I really am so grateful. Honestly, I'm so grateful to be sober, because it was the program that helped me to find a God of my understanding. So surrendering was the beginning toward a better life for me. However, real change began when I came to believe in a power greater than myself, and then deciding to trust in that power. My relationship to that power, who I choose to call God, is ever evolving and deepening within me. It doesn't grow and that's it. It's evolving, and it has been evolving. This is where I find true freedom. Freedom from fear, ego, and confusion. When I lean into my faith, it strengthens me to face all my trials and tribulations. I am courageous in the face of calamity. However, faith requires action. Love is an action, faith is an action. So I take, the actions I take to strengthen my faith are numerous. I pray, I read positive words or stories, or the sharing of stories with one another. For me, I read scripture, I meditate. I actually meditated right before I did this. I knew I was going to be nervous, and I just wanted to calm myself down. It allows me to get out of myself, to be still for that moment. Practicing gratitude and acceptance. We've talked about this over the course since Project Hope has started, and I'm sure we're not going to stop hearing that, but that's a big part for me. And the other thing too is focusing, doing these things and trusting in God for me and standing in my faith allows me to also see the solution and focus on the solution. So faith for me is more about relinquishing control and removing myself from trying to be the fixer and the manager. When I let go and I let God, or whoever you choose or don't choose, miraculous things happen. And I'm a testimony of that. Fiona, you're a testimony of that. So the real work though, the real transformation, there is a line in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that says, faith without works is dead. My transformation really began when I did a personal inventory of myself, my resentments, my fears, my sexual conduct, and harms done to others. This required courage and rigorous honesty, which is why I needed to have a trust in a higher power. I can't do that unless I have a concept of God, a higher being. Anyways, why would I want to revisit the ugliness of my past or the pain and relive the pain and the shame and then have to share it with someone else? That's a lot. But, yeah, I wanted to bulk and I wanted to run away. I was told that this was necessary. I was also reminded that I made a decision to go to any length necessary for a better life. People shared their experiences of what happened to them, what they when they did do an inventory and when they didn't. Not gonna lie, it was a daunting process, but I did it. And I also did it several times. In fact, I can do daily inventories, and I do daily check-ins, which is one of the calls of action for you, and I'll go over that later. Slowly, my life began to change. I changed. The way I engaged in the world and with others changed. I was and still am becoming a better version of myself. I'm a worker among workers. I show up. I'm a service. I show up in my life and in the life of my family. My relationships with my children and my mother are improving. They're not quite where I would like them to be, but we're a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. And I had a sponsor, one of my sponsors early on, and she's now deceased. She used to tell me about staying teachable. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I love that. And so I always want to forever remember that I am teachable. I had another sponsor who taught me the importance of practicing self-love. And Fiona, you touched on that greatly. He would suggest the most corniest things for me to do and say to myself. Initially, I struggled with this concept of self-love. It didn't really come up naturally, and it felt extremely awkward. But in time, I grew, in practicing that, I grew in self-confidence and in the belief that I can achieve anything that I put my mind to. So today I have a healthy relationship with myself and others. I engage in my relationships with mutual love and respect. Always listening with an open heart. A big part of self-love for me is also setting boundaries with others and following through on those boundaries. I have a part of my addiction to substance abuse was also relationships. You touched on that, so I really appreciate Fiona touching on that. And I didn't understand boundaries. When I was doing this work, and I also went to therapy. I was like, what is this boundary thing? And then I would start practicing, and I would get kickback from the other person. And then I learned that I had to follow through on those boundaries that I set. This was a very painful process for me, but a very necessary one. And this is very important for me on this spiritual journey in bouncing back and getting back to myself and also helping others. I learned the importance of saying no and having the courage to say no and mean when I meant no. I had to let go of people when my boundaries were broken or not respected, even when it came down to my own children. The other aspect of self-love is detachment, power of detachment. Emotional detachment was probably the most difficult concept to comprehend and practice. Some may interpret detachment as being selfish and only thinking about oneself, but quite on the contrary, it really is the opposite. It's more about being selfless. This is another form of practicing self-love and love for the other person. It's about caring for the other person rather than, let me say that again, it's about caring for the other person rather than taking care of. You see, when I take care of someone, I'm going to rescue and save, and I'm going to drown with them. I got to put my life preserver on before I go save someone. I think I heard an analogy about the mask, the airplane and the mask. But anyways, So one of the things that I have William Shakespeare, to thine own self be true. I love this quote. It reminds me, it keeps up front for me that, you know, to be true to myself. And in being true to myself, then I am also true to others. Prayer and meditation is essential in my life. And, you know, I start out my day with spending time in the morning. You know, again, I mentioned this earlier, reading positive words, praying, and being still. I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. During this pandemic, I actually started the daily positivity vibes. You know, what are you grateful for every day? Or what are you grateful for today? This helps me, this practice, the morning devotional, this helps me to be centered and grounded. It sets me up for a strong start to the day. The daily practice of prayer and meditation is, I like to use this analogy a lot, it's similar to working out. It strengthens my faith muscles when I practice these things every morning. Through it keeps my heart open and circulating in love, kindness, and thankfulness. Through every breath that I take in and out, my whole peace and serenity is restored. So when I'm faced with challenges and hardships, I'm prepared to walk through with grace, strength, and courage. The last 2 things that I want to talk about before I wrap things up is acceptance and gratitude. Practicing acceptance helps me to maintain serenity and peace. It really does. When I'm feeling uncomfortable, uncertain, or agitated, I can pause and ask myself, what are my expectations here? Or rights about the situation, person, place, or thing? What can I do or not do? If I do take action, how will it help me or hurt me? And will it hurt others? And then I pray for the right thought and action and the courage to take the best steps forward. Sometimes I have found that the best course of action is no action at all. I've learned that when I don't know and have doubts, don't do anything until I'm clear. Just wait. That in and of itself can be hard, but it's a good lesson in self-restraint. When I start out my day with a grateful heart, it allows me to accentuate the positive, to shine a light on what is going well in my life, in the world, in the splendor of nature and all living things. It keeps me humble and I feel full. What's really special about practicing gratitude is that I feel loved and cared for and truly remember that I have all that I need. Einstein is one of my favorites also, and he has a lot of amazing quotes. And I thought this was really appropriate for my share. Learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow. So my call to action for you is live in the moment. What can you or I do in this moment? Especially when you're facing with some struggle or pain. What resources do you have that can help you in this moment? Those resources may be financial, it may be a support system, a person, hope, Project Hope. Who can I reach out to ask for help? Just live in the moment and breathe. Doing a personal inventory is always good. A little fact finder, check finder, you know. I got this from Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown. I got some of her little tips here and I just kind of put them in for your call to action. You know, you can ask yourself, what emotions am I experiencing? Where are they coming from and how are they connected to the way I'm thinking and feeling? What is the story that I'm telling myself about a situation or a person? What is true or self-protecting, and what needs to change in me? That's really important for me because that also helps me to accept, right? When I focus on what needs to change, usually when I'm feeling irritated and uncomfortable, it's usually something something about me I need to take a look at. So, script out a new narrative. Tell yourself a new story. or create a plan based on what you've learned about yourself. And then you can apply this plan to how you want to live and engage in the world. Acceptance is key, plain and simple. I took this quote, I read this every single morning to keep me right-sized and remember, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be in this moment. And finally, you probably heard this 1,000 times. I'm going to tell you again. Write 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. What's going well in your life? Affirm the goodness that's in and around you. Put a little exclamation point on that positivity. And, and I didn't talk a lot about being of service to others, but being of service, this is what we're doing here. So I kind of figured, we're already doing that. And I think we all know what to do. But, the only reason why I'm here and I'm sober is because other people were there that helped me and guided me and walked me through this. And so I'm paying it forward in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. But I also I have also found in my life, I've had tremendous opportunity as a fitness professional to be able to be of service to others that I train with and I work with. I'm able to take a lot of this, not in the exact words, but in a way that when I really listen, in a way that my clients or anybody that I'm interacting with, I'm having a conversation. I always look for an opportunity. I'm always listening. I always stay open because, it goes for me, helping others, being of service to others, encouraging others, especially during this time, it extends outside of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous for me. And I'm just so incredibly grateful that I have this platform and that I like to call you guys my tribe. I have tribes. I have my AA tribes, and now I've got you guys as my tribes. And really, that bounce back better is for me. It's all of this and so much more. So thank you for this, for hearing me, listening. I hope that there's one thing that you can walk away with that will encourage you and motivate you and give you just one moment of peace. Thank you so much.
Wow. We are so blessed to have you on the team. And this has just been an amazing journey already. And remember, folks, you've got some homework to practice gratitude daily. Write 3 to 5 things that are going well in your life. Affirm the goodness that is in and around you. Oh, I love it. That's amazing. Allow me a moment to introduce our next speaker, Wendy Major, mom of 4 teenagers, medical exercise therapist, certified in falls prevention, CanFit Pro personal trainer, and Sergeant Ken's boot camp instructor, level 1, pre and postnatal fitness specialist, aqua fitness instructor, volleyball and track and field coach, level 2, soccer, basketball, badminton coach, level 1, universal home care specialist, owner, and global health and wellness company owner. Wendy Major is just another one of these wonderful people that I've met over the years while coming to CanFit Pro, and it's just one of those gems that you bring closer to your little circle, your inner circle. Like many of you that I see on here, like Wendy and the rest of you, that you want to hold dear to your heart. And so I cannot wait to hear what she has to say. So, Wendy, take the stage.
Wow. Well, thank you. Can you hear me? I hope so. Holy moly, Fiona and Mackie, your stories are so inspirational and powerful, and wow, that was amazing. This is a bouncing back better, but I'm basically going to go through a bounce through moment, and you'll understand near the end of it. I've been listening to these calls since the first episode took place, and I just have to say, Ken, you're such a phenomenal leader. So thank you for this tremendous opportunity and to be amongst this elite panel of phenomenal Wonder Women. And honestly, with the pandemic going on, and with the pandemic going on and the chaos it has created upon itself, it just seems, in light of the most recent sadness, that fuel has been added to this fire. There's never been a time when projects such as Hope has been so needed. Hopefully, we can be the unit that reaches more people to spread more love and peace into our world. So I have a confession to make. Ken asked me to speak 2 months ago, and I politely declined, then talked myself out of unfriending him on Facebook. But how do you unfriend a friend and a mentor? Like, that's just crazy. Public speaking as myself is my biggest fear, as it is for so many people. It's not a natural ability. And I've always admired those who are so eloquently astute on the podium, never thinking, I'd like to be there one day. Nope, I've always been content attending the conferences, filling my cup with all the wisdom poured into me so I could recreate what I've learned in my own way. Now let's go back to how I worded that. Public speaking as myself, Wendy Major. But who is she really? Just a small town farm girl who loves to promote health and wellness, be considerate and kind, competitive and fierce. Public speaking as a role, now you're talking. So on the court, in the athlete role, I'm sure my teammates would agree, I might be the loudest, very competitive, and sometimes even aggressive. In the cheerleader role for events, getting everyone riled up, I love that. The higher the energy, the fuller my heart. In the coaching role, pouring passion into clients, athletes full-heartedly, no problem. In one of my previous careers, I was a bartender. And damn, I was so good at my job. 20 years later, some people still know me as the Ralph's girl, and Ralph's has been closed for 20 years. I was the first person anyone walking into the establishment saw once they got past the bouncers. I was at the entrance at the top of the stairs with all of my beer on ice, spinning my 2 patio umbrellas, donning a massive cowboy hat, screaming at the top of my lungs, come get your cheap cold beer. And it was good, and I was good at it. Of course, my competitive nature came out, so I also had to be the best at it, and I really was. I held that title. So when I'm performing, it's not a problem. So when Ken asked me a second time to present, again, I looked at my phone thinking to myself, obviously he wants me to speak, but why? I really can't say no to this guy twice because then he'll unfriend me, and I couldn't bear that. So I accepted with a huge lump in my throat, pounding in my chest, and not in my stomach, kind of what I have right now, and here I am. It took me a couple of weeks to realize I needed to play a role, the role of Wendy Major as myself, the girl who, when not among friends or familiar faces, was super shy, introverted, and sometimes felt socially awkward. I was the girl who went to the conferences like CanFit, and I stayed near the back of the room as to not be recognized. I would listen to the speaker, take my notes, do what I was asked, never ask questions, and be off to the next class. I did that 10 years as a fitness professional. And then I met Ken. That meeting is a story for 2 weeks from now. Right now, I'm here as a leader, a mentor, and a coach. And hopefully we can all take some nuggets away to contribute to society, because society really needs us right now. Let's go back to 2019. Pick any day you want. What did it look like to you? School, work, what's for dinner, what's for lunches, do we need groceries, oh my God, laundry, sports, practices, homework, competitions, self-care, meetings, social gatherings, if you guys remember what those are, Just like so many of you, I too led a busy life. I have a super supportive husband who is my biggest fan. He is an amazing father. He's an officer. He works shift work and sees what everyone doesn't want to see when he leaves to do his duty. I have 4 teenage kids who are all entirely different. One joins every group in school. One plays every sport. One is entirely on her way to med school. And one has a passion for a future in media. I own 3 companies, and I'm spreading myself thin between them, and my kids, and their activities, and my personal self-care, and my activities, and time with my husband. At any point in 2019, did you stop and think, is this normal? Or how can I get more hours in a day? Or did you actually say, oh my God, I just need a week to breathe? I was overworking myself. I had lost my vision because I was stretched so thin. I had no extra time to spend with my family other than the taxi service I'd become. I had lost a part of my connection with my husband because I was too emotionally, physically, and mentally spent to share time with him. We were living in chaos. And what is chaos? We know what that is. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting change. And then change came. Friday, March 13th, 2020, the whole world stops. And as I reflect on that right now, I think it was though the universe was listening to all of us. But what happens? Initial fear sets in. Finances, how are we going to make ends meet? Club team, sports, school, what will become of it? Everything except one business stopped for me. My entire life motto has been, life will never throw you a challenge that you can't handle. And I truly believe that. And I've handled my share. But since I can't control the uncontrollable, I decided to control what I could. And I can't tell you how much I think our current situation actually saved my life. So now I'm going to fix all of the above. Finances, I'll pour all of my extra time into the one business I have left. Club teams, the kids will stay on top of their physical abilities with workouts at home with me, and I get to spend more time with them on an individual basis. School, teachers already had started a plan for online learning, which is fantastic. Because I don't know about you, but have you seen math nowadays? Crazy. Some of you have been impacted by this event immensely. Some of you have minimal impact. Regardless of that impact, the earth knew we needed a shift. Mother Nature stepped in and implemented the change for us. We must accept that change happens and change is necessary. We must accept, the amazing thing about all of this is that we as a human race, when faced with change, we adapt. Sometimes we don't like it, and sometimes we don't even realize it, but it's human nature. We adapt to adjust to comply with living in the here and now. Since the beginning of COVID, how many companies have you seen expand their business to manufacture supplies they had never made before? How many individuals do you know and see online now that are creating income for themselves because they need to? And right now, online is the only place they can. So many people stepping out of their comfort zone to adjust the change that was pressed upon us. How many people have been gratefully impacted by Ken, Stephanie, and their tremendous vision to give back by way of this Hope Project? How many people have you seen just selflessly step up? Since the pandemic started, I've had the time to spend it with those who are most important to me. I've discovered a whole new relationship with my kids that I would never have given the opportunity that this situation has forced upon us. When I had kids, this is the relationship I wanted. And prior to March 13th, it was going in a completely different direction. I've been able to spend more quality time with my husband because I'm not completely drained. I have the time and energy and the desire to be present in his day, as if he wants me to. And if not, well, he's forced to. I've rested, recalibrated, renewed, and I have my vision back. I've taken time for self-care and growth. I've made time to study new things to impact each of my businesses better and more effectively so I can work smarter, not harder. I worked on personal growth in spades. As I said earlier, Ken asked me to do this once before and I declined due to fear, self-esteem, lack of confidence. And prior to this right now, my fingertips were sweating. Just clarity. Since the beginning of this change in times, I've had the opportunity to grow myself in front of an audience without shaking the teeth out of my head or soaking my underarms more than a sergeant can work out. I've had time to read. The only thing I've ever had time to read before this was reports. I'm currently reading Stephanie's new book, All I Would Have Said, and I have to absolutely say, if you haven't read it, it's a must read. I'm not just plugging, I'm being for real on that. When the new normal comes around, and you know there will be a new normal, I will be prepared. I will be focused. I will be a better wife, mother, and leader. I will no longer be trading my time poorly to be missing out on whom I need to be present for. Mindset is key. Here are the 5 B's to bounce back better. And this is your call to action. Be intentional. Focus on the time that has been given to us. Instead of mulling negative thoughts in our heads, think of how I can productively work toward a better me so that I can provide in a better tomorrow. With the time that has been granted, we can get so much done if we want to. And right now, we need to. So work smarter, not harder. Number 2, be mindful. Focus on your surroundings and your time and space. What we thought was normal really wasn't. What we knew as normal pace was insane, crazy pace. No wonder so many of us were ill physically and mentally. We were all too busy doing too much, not taking the time to slow down. We were not masters of time management. We were allowing time to manage us. So just breathe. Number 3, be present. Focus on your family and everyone you need to be present for. The opportunity to spend more quality time with our number ones and to go deeper into communication, love, respect, and honesty is so important. Live in the moment each and every day, fully with the ones who are most important to you and the ones who need you the most. Number 4, be aware. Focus on you. Self-care practices solve so many issues. We as trainers know that physical exercise not only promotes strength and balance physically, but emotionally and mentally as well. Putting more effort to invest in proper care during this time will build for a healthier, stronger pillar of a person that you are for tomorrow's challenges. Exercise, stretch, read, relax, meditate, recover, and again, just breathe. Number 5, be grateful. Focus on all that you do have and don't take anything for granted. As we have heard throughout this series, obstacles can create opportunity. Present each obstacle as an opportunity you can be grateful for. Changing your mindset in this manner will change your overall spiritual energy that will in turn positively impact others in your aura. And right now, everyone needs each and every person's positivity. Be that individual that offers positive peace, purpose, and passion. Be grateful that you can offer this, even if it's to just one person. What ambitions have you put on hold because you didn't have time or energy required prior to this pandemic? Because you didn't have the time to visualize what you wanted to create within and for yourself? Because you didn't have the time to create the life and impact you wanted? Our life is a journey. From the day we are brought in to the day we leave. Take the journey and trust the journey. Don't waste your time focusing on what happened in the past unless it's reminding you of how you grew from it. Invest your time and energy into every positive possibility that you can. This is your game of life, and you are the star player. You're not the bench warmer. Play every day like it's your last. Now it's time. Go do it. Rip the Band-Aid off and bounce back better.
Wow.
Oh my God, I did it.
You did it. Oh man. Oh, I tell you what, I gotta be, express some more humility here and go ahead and, tell everyone that's on the call right now or looking at this Facebook Live or watching it later, that, all of the speakers, we've been having multiple calls and on mentorship and to get them ready for this moment, because there's really only one in this group that's a seasoned speaker. The rest of them, they were deathly afraid of this or just, nervous about it. But bottom line is they're doing an amazing job. Folks, put some words of affirmation and some accolades in the chat box now. I'm just so blessed to be a part of this journey. And I love how she ended with being grateful. We talk about that a lot over the last 6 episodes. This is the 6th episode of Project Hope. And she said that, don't waste your time focusing on what happened in the past unless it's reminding you of how you grew from it. And I think we said in episode 1 that your past does not define you, it prepares you. Your past does not define you, it prepares you. Allow me the opportunity to introduce our next speaker. Carissa Mahoney is a personal trainer at Burn Boot Camp in Knoxville, Tennessee. Another Tennessean, yeah! She is a certified group fitness instructor and obtained her boot camp certification from Sergeant Ken in 2012. Carissa established her own boot camp, Mission Possible Fitness, LLC, in 2012. Upon moving to Tennessee, she became a group fitness instructor and personal trainer at Greatness Fitness. She recently added a TRX certification to her resume. Carissa was an elementary education teacher prior to pursuing her passion in the fitness industry. Her mission is to empower women to achieve their impossible by challenging them to realize that what their individual potential really is. She also strives to lead by example with a positive mindset. Oh man, we've got a great lineup today. Now I've got to go ahead and find her in this big, huge wave at me. There you are. All right. I'm going to spotlight your video. So Carissa, take the stage.
Hello. I want to say thank you first off to Sergeant Ken for this opportunity, because I am one of those that is not seasoned, but as I always tell people when I train them, and I've got some of them on here tonight, is to step outside your comfort zone and seize the opportunity. So just a quick little history. I have 3 children with my husband. Our oldest just turned 20, which is crazy to me. And our daughter's 17, and then we have a 14-year-old son. And our life has been for 20 plus years. My husband was a college football coach. And so with that comes great excitement and opportunity and benefits. And, you have those great seasons. You get to go to bowl games. And what brought us to Knoxville, Tennessee is my husband was with the University of Tennessee. So all those great things, there's the other side as well, which there's the things people probably don't think about, the uncertainty, the instability, changes, and those can come with a winning season, which you don't really think about maybe, but if you've got those winning seasons, you never know if that head coach is going to be taken to another team. And then my husband was the breadwinner. So does that mean we're moving? Or if he's not taken, then we've got to go somewhere else. Does that mean we're moving again? Since we've been together, it's been about 7 moves, which for some people may not be very much, but others who've lived the same place, that might seem like a lot. Anyway, there can also, of course, if there's like a losing seasons and you don't have a good recruiting season, which is huge with college football. Pretty sure they start in about 5th grade recruiting now. But anyway, that can be a source of stress as well, or are there going to be changes, all those things. That history being, having that history of that instability, those changes, all of that did not prepare me for what was going to happen in 2005. So give me a thumbs up if you remember Hurricane Katrina back in 2005. So that is going to be my story that I'm going to share tonight, That was when he was with, he was coaching at Tulane at the time. So we were in the New Orleans area. And all over the news is we're going to be hit by a Category 5 hurricane. So of course, that's uncertainty and panic and not knowing what's going to be happening next. And with all that, I was, like I said, not prepared for that. There's a catastrophe about to happen, and there's no sense of control. So how do you gain control? Just like this pandemic. We don't have any sense of control. Things are starting to open up some places, depending where you're at, but there's still a lack of, are you working from home? Are you unemployed? What's going on? Is everybody at home? All of that uncertainty. So in order to gain a sense of control, I don't know about you, but I'm a list maker. So go through, make my list. And then the next step was to take action with the things that are on the list. Some of those being, all right, trying to get the hurricane file together, which meant birth certificates, social security cards, insurance, marriage license, all of that I already had together, because you learn after you've lived there that have that ready to go. So gathering that, then making sure there's gas in the car, because on the news, you're seeing these lines, and I did go to get gas and wait for an hour, hoping that there's going to be gas left when you get there. And then you need to plan, okay, now are we leaving? Are we staying? Is my husband coming with? And then we did find out he was required to go with the team. So now where are we going to go? And at the time, our kids, we had the two older ones. The youngest was 2.5, and our son was 5. So now it's he and I, or the three of us, and got to figure out, okay, we're going to go, we're going to Houston, because one of the other coaches' wives, her in-laws had secured some rooms in Houston. So still going back to how am I taking action, I had to get together all of the photos, making sure, okay, now I need to pack, okay, little ones, I'm going to pack snacks. So I have those in the car, have the movies, all that stuff. Then I need to pack the clothes. Okay, not a big deal, right? But it's different when you're thinking, are we coming back to this house? Will there be anything here? Are we going to be back in a couple days? Because we'd evacuated before for Hurricane Ivan, came back, 3 days later. But I had to think about, if we're staying here, we're going to be, warmer clothes. If we go to Upper Michigan, which is where I was from, then we're going to need some cooler clothes. Then breaking it down to, okay, what are some of the favorite clothes of the kids, or the favorite shoes or toys, all of those things. So packing was different than just packing for a trip. So once I get all of that stuff done, I'm ready. It's Saturday night, and I'm waiting. Because I'm waiting on this other, my friend, because she's waiting on in-laws, friends, getting things ready to go, and I'm fidgeting. Okay, I'm ready to go. However, hearing that it's taking them 17 hours to get to Baton Rouge, which was an hour and a half from us. Okay, are we going to get stuck on the road? Are we going to be caught in the hurricane? I don't know what's going to happen. And so then we end up, I did wait, which ended up being a wise choice, because we went, once we got on the road, it was, Houston would have been a 6-hour trip. It was 12, which actually wasn't bad, because we got on the road and all of a sudden it's contraflow. So that means everybody's going in the same direction. So you got double the number of people that are able to travel that way. So 6 hours, but didn't know if we'd be able to stop off anywhere. So our 5-year-old, somehow I had a pull-up that still fit him. I said, you know what, buddy, you're going to have to wear this. I don't know if we're going to be able to stop. My daughter was still in diapers, so that was okay. And thankfully, it was fine. We were able to make it. The one issue was we did lose cell service. So there was no contact for 12 hours with my husband. Of course, my parents are wondering, my mom is on here tonight, you know, what's happening? And so we get to Houston, we get in touch with everybody, kind of uneventful, go to dinner, take the kids swimming. Next day, then comes, fast forward to Monday morning, we're down in the lobby, and I'm with my friend and her friend, and we're watching the news, and they see their neighborhood, and it's underwater. 9 feet of water. They know their neighborhood, gone. We were further west. We did not know what was happening at ours. And we still didn't for a while. You couldn't get back. We were in touch with our neighbors, who we did have a couple that stayed, and they looked in the windows and thought things were okay. So that's all we know. And I ended up having a cousin that lived in Houston, and she let us stay there for a couple of days, left the car there. Then my family stepped in. They took care of us, got us tickets, flight home. Kids and I went back, and I'm from a small town, Iron Mountain, Michigan, up in the UP. And we were embraced by family. My parents took us in, and we stayed there for 3 weeks, and outpouring of support just from the community, because they heard we were Hurricane Katrina victims. All of a sudden, they're sending money. My high school, my husband's high school in Pennsylvania. I mean, all these local people are just coming in to support, which is what's amazing, like now with this pandemic, how people are supporting, these companies are stepping up. All of that is what's so amazing about the pandemic, any kind of catastrophes, challenges, and everything. And so we end up staying, we're about 3 weeks, and God works in mysterious ways. I had an aunt who had passed away. She was single, and my parents are deciding, okay, they're talking about getting the house ready to sell. And then thought, you know what? How about if you and the kids stay there? We had a fully furnished house. We had a car to use. And for the next year, that's where we lived. So through that year, it was an opportunity, because there were no colleges nearby. So my husband wouldn't have coached anywhere there. My kids and myself had the opportunity to be with my parents, with family. I had aunts and uncles. I had a light out one time, and my uncle all of a sudden is knocking on my door going, "You have a light out in your car, let me change it for you." I mean, just everybody that supported us was amazing. And I had another aunt and uncle that said, okay, here we got the school. We got Jake's enrolled in school, and he was starting kindergarten. We got there on Thursday. His routine, boom, he started school. It was Labor Day, so he started school on like Tuesday. So that was just taken care of for us, all of the support. In the meantime, we find out my husband is able to get back into the house 3 weeks later, and calls me, and thinking, you know, the house is okay. It wasn't 9 feet of water, but it was about 8 inches, and it was enough that without air conditioning, that the mold grew. And so they had to take out 4 feet of drywall through the house. There was roof damage in the kitchen, so the kitchen had to be gutted. Roof damage in the baby's room. So we did have to go through things. And then my dad, we went back in October. That was the first week to get back, and we donned the masks and everything. And my dad was amazing. And we went back, and we had 14-hour days. And the first day we're there, we worked till maybe, 7:30 or something. And we're like, okay, we're starving. Let's go get something to eat. And when I tell you nothing was open, there weren't gas stations open. There was nothing. So here we are looking for food, just like now. You're used to Taco Tuesday at your favorite Mexican restaurant, and it's not open, right? All these changes, and then you learn how to adapt from that. Well, we searched, and we found an ice cream store, and went, we're having ice cream for dinner, which usually you think, oh, that's good, right? We were starving. we had, but they did serve hot dogs. So we had hot dogs and ice cream for dinner that night. And then the next day we realized, all right, there's like some food truck, like pizza, whatever. So again, we worked those days, which was grueling, very emotional. Took pictures of everything. I must have taken 150, 200 pictures for insurance purposes, wrote down everything, you know, those challenging things like Buzz Lightyear, our son's favorite toy that had to get rid of. You know, my aunts offered to buy a new one, but it just didn't have the sentimental value. So we got rid of all of those things. We were able to salvage, you know, enough. And then we went back and we stayed up in Iron Mountain for the whole year. My husband I saw him 4 times and the kids saw him twice. It was pretty insane. But in the meantime, God thought, you know what? You're supposed to have 3 kids. So guess what? I got pregnant and wouldn't change it for the world. Our son is amazing and has a heart of gold, and God was like, he needs to be in this world. And so I was pregnant through this. So going through our daughter would not sleep. She was used to her crib, and overnight she had to go to a bed, and she loved that freedom. So that was challenging, but my mom was there to take her for rides and get her to, you know, sleep, and then we could transfer her, all those kinds of things. So fast forward another year, throughout the year, we went back and we were about to go back, had the baby there. He was 5 weeks old, and God said, sweetie, you're strong, but you're not quite this strong. Threw my back out. Couldn't lift the baby, could barely turn over in bed. And my mom, amazing as she is, took a leave of absence from work, and she came back with me for 5 weeks. So we go back to our house, which is still not finished. We ended up going back and had a refrigerator and a microwave. No kitchen sink, no countertops, no stove, no oven, nothing. And no overhead light, because I can still remember my mom doing the dishes in the 2 tubs on the kitchen table, one to wash, one to rinse before it got dark. So then we eventually did get a kitchen sink. And finally, we got back there in August. By October, we finally had countertops. And this is where appreciation comes in, learning to appreciate the small things, because when your 6-year-old comes home from school and goes, we got countertops. I'm pretty sure most 6-year-olds don't even notice that we have countertops, right? Or when we got the kitchen sink. I also remember my mom going to make coffee and saying, this doesn't feel right because I'm getting the water from the bathroom sink. But you did what you had to. So getting all of those things back, just appreciation for that. Just like now, appreciating, like it's been said over and over, and like Wendy was just talking about, that time, appreciating slowing down and family, all of those things, taking the time to appreciate them. So we were back in our house, and after about 5 weeks, and 5 weeks physical therapy for me, my mom went back, and we had, I guess, our new normal, which is what we're going towards now. And my question to you is, what do you want your new normal to look like? Wendy had already stated what she wants her new normal to look like. That's a call to action for you to stop and think. Because I had a friend who we were walking, and she said, you know, the kids really don't mind this so much. They were stuck home, but they were outside, and they were in the neighborhood, and they were riding their bikes, and they were swimming, and they were playing. They had a pool at their house. And she's like, why am I running them around like crazy? So it's a way to look at, how is life? How can you slow down? How can you appreciate? those little things. And what is the new normal going to look like? And we're going to have different opinions of that. And let's work to accept, even if we don't agree with someone else, let's have greater acceptance and love, especially with everything that's going on right now, opening our hearts, opening our minds. And when you are in a state of challenging times, taking a few minutes to actually identify your feelings. So we've got a lot going on and, okay, it's stress, but what exactly are you feeling? Take time to give power to, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I look back to how I was feeling: panic, anxiety, angry, frustrated, nervous, sad, all of these things. Write down what you're feeling, and it kind of gives you some power over it. So that's one of your calls to action. And then sharing your story, because we've had story today with talking about relationships, addiction, busyness. And I'm sure that has resonated with someone on here, and it's going to resonate with someone that watches this, that recorded later. So everyone's story is, your story is valid. Be bold. Share it. You don't know how it can affect someone's life. And reframe your thoughts. So every time you have something that comes up and you go negative, take the time to come up with 3 positive. So you've got one negative thing, if you have, say you have little ones and, oh my gosh, I was up with them like all night. Take the time to go, I have a house and a bed for my child. I have my child and they're healthy. 3 positives. And then those dendrites in the brain start to form, and you're going to find a pattern of looking more positively on everything that you encounter. Remember also that life is full of uncertainty. We're in a time of uncertainty now, but that's life. And we have to decide, what are we going to do with that uncertainty? How are you going to react to it? Look at it in that positive light. You have a choice. We all have a choice. And again, with gratitude, as everybody's been saying, so important. There's days where I try to be aware. I get up and say, okay, I have this house. If I'm getting up early. So I has been mentioned here, I also have a strong faith, and people kind of think I'm crazy, and I do too. But if I'm working, I have to be at work at 5 a.m. to train, I'll get up. Like this morning, I was up at 3:45 because I took my time for that devotional. You too, Maki? Getting up because that starts my day, and I have a prayer journal, and I write names in it, and I write Sergeant Ken's in it, and pray for resilience and leadership and all these things, and putting other people first, and then praying. I write a paragraph for myself. There's a whole lot of things I need to work on. I need guidance and all of that. And that's how I choose to start my day. And on my way to work going, my car started. Okay, I have the key to get in to work because I have forgotten it before. And there's power. I mean, all those little things to be thankful for. So share your story. Write down those feelings, identify what they are when you're in a stressful situation, reframe those thoughts. For every negative, come up with 3 positives. And again, I want to say thank you to Sergeant Ken, and also thank you to Stephanie, because I know I have not met your wife, but behind the scenes, she is doing so much and probably doesn't get the accolades that she deserves. So, and thank you to all the speakers and everyone here tonight, and have a great night.
Amazing, amazing. And I love her one of her final calls to action where she says, you know, find that person that you need to share your story with. Of course, I'm paraphrasing it because that's all about accountability. And speaking of accountability, let me tell you about our final speaker, because she is one of my accountability partners. Tricia has been a fitness and nutrition specialist and enthusiast since she was a child. She is a registered and licensed dietitian, certified wellness coach, fitness instructor, certified as a personal trainer and group fitness instructor, and smoking cessation facilitator. She graduated with a summa cum laude honors with a bachelor's of science degree in dietetics from the State University of New York, and completed her dietetic internship at Brigham and Women's Hospital. She graduated with honors from the Babson College Master's MBA program, and she has extensive nutrition education and experience, including time spent as the director of nutrition for the prestigious Canyon Ranch Health Resort, an amazing resort, by the way, in Berkshires. During her employment at Boston Public Schools, she taught nutrition as well as responsible for the operations for over 20 school nutrition meal sites that employed over 100 people. Her vast school nutrition experience also includes 3 years as the director of food services at Watertown Public Schools, where she was responsible for operations and developed and implemented innovative nutrition education opportunities for all of the students. She has been educating clients and groups through her businesses for years. And again, like I said, she is one of my accountability partners. And now I've got to go and find her in this group. So wave at me, girl. There you are. You are now going to be spotlighted. So you go ahead and take the stage.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Ken. I really appreciate you having me here today. When you asked me to do this a few weeks back, I was like, yes, I can't wait, because I was kicking coronavirus's butt. I've been working really hard, the hardest in my life, and I've helped many people through nutrition to make their immune system stronger. So I was ready. And then last week happened, and I've been using during coronavirus humor to get me through. Over the last week, it's been really hard to find humor. And I've been speaking for many years, and it's been a struggle. Yesterday was particularly a struggle speaking to the employee wellness groups that I had to speak to, because this hurts what's going on in our country. We lost a life last week and we didn't have to, and that's hurt me at this guttural level. And I was going back and forth with what to share today, because it felt really trivial, my story, and sharing that. It really did. And I was very fortunate that I met this fabulous person 2 years ago at the CanFit Pro conference in Toronto. I was asked to speak there, and I was nervous. It was my first time. And I was traveling from the expo hall to my session, walking really fast. And somehow this conversation started with this lovely individual. And he said, "You look like a strong, determined person, confident." And I said, "I'm not. I'm nervous. I'm scared." And he prayed for me in that moment. He literally started saying a prayer and looked in my eyes. We became friends. And we've been friends for a couple of years. And I've been going back and forth, like, you know, should I show the picture of us, or how does this look? Will people think, oh, I'm exploiting a friendship with, you know, here's one of my Black friends. But I felt like I talked to him today, and I asked him, what do you think of this? And we spoke, because he is a speaker for Project Hope. We spoke several weeks back when he was about to be a speaker that night. And I gave him strength, and we spoke, and I wanted him to do well. As he was speaking that night at Project Hope, I was praying for him. Gary, you're going to do this. I want you to do well, praying. And there's a lot to be said for prayer and how that can help us and help us get through. And we spoke yesterday, and I told him yesterday how I was, you know, really struggling. And he said, speak from the heart. He said, share your message. And I told him it feels so trivial. He called me today. I was taking a walk. That's how I get some of my strength. And I told him, Gary was thinking about sharing our story today. And I don't know how you feel about it. And I talked to one friend, she said, don't. And in my gut, I felt like I should. And he said, go ahead. And Gary said a prayer for me today. And he knows I was having a really tough time before this. I was crying a lot of the day. It's hard to find humor. I'm finding it very hard. But I will do my best to bring the humor back shortly. But first, I just want to share with you this beautiful friend, and see if you should be able to see him. If not, let me just make sure I'm sharing. Hold on one second here. And here we go. Look at this beautiful person here. That is Gary Henry. Many of you know him. He's in the audience. Hey, Gary. Gary not only prayed for me today, and I'm walking the streets of my town bawling, crying with tissues. They're like, who's the crazy lady? But he was praying for me. It was so kind. And Gary, thank you and blessings to you. And I just want to talk about, we talked today about, I'm struggling. I read on social media and the news, reach out to your Black friends. Don't reach out to your Black, I don't know what to do. I just want to share kindness and love and support because I'm hurting too and I feel it. And I want to help us all to grow. And I think that in fitness, as Gary said, we're united and we are united in fitness. Fitness and wellness, we deal with people from the core, from within. We help people feel better through their bodies, through good nutrition. We know how it makes us feel, and let's reach out and help more people feel that way through our gifts. We have so many fitness professionals on this call tonight. So let's share our gifts with each other. Gary, thank you for sharing your gift and giving me the strength to share our unique story. And I think that we need to all listen, sometimes listen more than we talk. And we need to find new ways to do things. We need to brainstorm new ways because some of the ways we were doing things just weren't working. So thank you, Gary. Let me get to why I was asked to be here, to share hope and share why I became a dietitian and a fitness instructor. So part of that, and I'm going to unshare now so you can see back into, welcome to my kitchen, everybody. All right, so became a dietitian because I was bullied as a kid from within my own family and from outside the family. And one day in elementary school, I was so proud. I was wearing the Hobart Elementary School jacket. The first day, new green jacket, had the logo on it. I get on the bus going home that day, and a kid says, "You're the Goodyear blimp." And I'm like, I didn't ask for that. And I think of what, Mackie said earlier, like as a child, you don't understand, like why are people thinking this way or saying things to you? Like you didn't ask for that. And I didn't know why. I didn't want to be an overweight kid. And at times it didn't even bother me, but that did. I was deflated. He thought I was a blimp. He deflated the blimp. I felt terrible. And it was tough. So let's fast forward, or let's talk about a little bit why was I an overweight kid? That was hard. Now I can reflect on it. Became a dietitian to figure out why and to help other people. We ate really healthy Monday through Friday in my family. The nights, we had really healthy meals. However, we weren't eating vegetables during lunch. There wasn't a lot of fruit during the day. And then the weekend turned into a freakend. And that's what's happening to a lot of your clients. They're eating well Monday through Friday. Really good, like an A student. And then Saturday and Sunday, they're going nuts. And sometimes we're telling them they could have a cheat day. No, because that doesn't work for people. Sedentary cheat day, just one cheat day can really derail your efforts. I've done the math on this. So we need to be really careful. And we can build small indulgences in. We can have fun food sometimes. But when I was a kid, my dad owned a deli, and Saturday nights, we would go with him to close the deli. Well, he did the accounting. We would fill up on all the food for the family pig out later on that night, right before Saturday Night Live. We'd eat Entenmann's cake, Hershey's ice cream, cookies, you name it. The next day, out of love, and a lot of you know your families show love for food, we would bring home bagels and crumb cake and cookies, and I'd be popping bagels like the Tic Tacs and never getting full on this stuff, eating it all day long. And then Monday through Friday, we would go back to our healthy meals at night. During the day, I, didn't eat much, so I couldn't understand, why am I this overweight kid? We eat healthy, pretty much. So let's fast forward a few more years, and now it's 10th grade, and I'm going to work at that deli. And everyone tells me, you go to work at the deli, you're gonna gain weight like all of us. And I'm like, geez, I'm in 10th grade, I don't wanna gain weight. So I decided I'm gonna walk home from work every day. And wow, that was amazing. That was my first huge aha fitness moment. I walked home every day. I didn't gain that weight. So that was really interesting to me. And then I told my dad, now that I have this job, I'm gonna save money and I'm gonna buy a bike. And he said, that's a waste of money. You're never gonna use that. Well, I saved my money and I worked, and there was a midnight madness sale in Patchogue, New York, in the middle of the night. I went, I got this bike. I rode that bike into the ground for years until literally that bike was in pieces. I became known as a biker in my town. It was the 1980s. No one was really biking, but I was a biker, not the Harley type. I was pedaling through town. To this day, that's a love of mine. Don't let other people define you or tell you, nah, that's a waste of time. That's a waste of money. So we have to define what's right for ourselves and be our own science experiments. That's one of the hugest things I do with my clients. Let's try this. Are you willing to try this? Are you willing to try a food logging app? What are you willing to do? That's what I ask people as a coach. And I listen, what are you willing to do? That's what it's about. And then be your own science experiment. Try something new. You're hurting? Try Tai Chi. I had a client that tried that. It became a love of her life. It was a science experiment. That's one of my takeaways for you and your clients. Be your own science experiment. All right, let me show you. I'm going to share my screen again. I'm keeping an eye on the time, Ken, because I can talk forever, but I won't.
You're good. I already told everyone that we're going to run 10 minutes past the hour.
Okay.
Apologize for the inconvenience, but you're doing great.
All right, I'm going to try to make it on the quicker side, but thank you for your kindness. All right, so this is the plate that I developed for my book after looking at how we eat in America, the USDA plate, the Canadian plate, the Okinawan pyramid, the Mediterranean pyramid, how people eat in areas of longevity across the world. I came up with this icon. You see half your plate, vegetables, half of what we eat. We need more vegetables. It helps your immune system. A quarter of what we eat, carb-rich foods, a quarter protein. We need fruit, healthy fats. Now, I'm going to unshare again, welcome you back into the kitchen, just show you a few things here. And look at my rainbow poster. We want to eat lots of color in the diet, a rainbow array of fruits and vegetables, really important. We need fruit. The keto diet is not good for your immune system. We don't need tons of fruit. We don't have to scare people with it or away from it. Just a little bit. 3 servings a day helps your eyes. Great for your skin. Great for your immune system. Protects against cancer in your throat area. We're in fitness. We need to be able to talk. Let's protect against cancer. 3 different fruits a day. Lots of vegetables, lots of different colors. All right, for protein, my 2 favorite sources. Beans, lots of nutrients in your beans, lots of micronutrients. You need to have some grains during some part of the day to make it a complete protein, but healthy protein. And some of you have seen my fish puppet. We need fish. Fish is awesome for you. And Sergeant Ken, in your honor, I named the fish Sergeant Finn. All right, so I know he's like, I got to take her, get the cane and pull her off. She's a crazy person. All right, so fish twice a week for optimal health. If you're not eating fish, some of the healthy fats we can eat. Chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, walnuts. However, If you eat a lousy diet, we can't just sprinkle that on and think we're going to be really healthy. You can't sprinkle that on Twinkies and say, oh, I have my hemp seed and Twinkies. We have to eat the balanced diet. After fish, chicken and turkey, and nuts and seeds also have some protein. Eggs in moderation, try to decrease the red meat. It's associated with inflammation, earlier mortality. Another way of saying we can die sooner. All right, couple more things. We need whole grains like millet and whole wheat and brown rice, of course, unless you have sensitivities to the wheat. The other thing I want to mention, we want to stay well hydrated. I'm going to show you another icon here, and let me share that. Just finish up with the plate, show you one more thing, and then we'll wrap this up. So if you look at my plate, I have someone meditating on the bottom and doing yoga, because I feel it's so important. Besides just eating well, we need to meditate and we need yoga in our lives to feel better. And I was thinking of Ken last week and this program when I took a warriors training. I'm working on my yoga certification. And we learned a lot about post-traumatic stress disorder and how meditation can help with that. And we're all going to have a lot of post-traumatic stress over everything we're going through. So yoga and meditation and things like tapping can help. All right, let me move along from this. And this is a staircase I developed to help my clients. And basically, we are all on this nutrition staircase. When I was a kid, I was at that one level, eating a lot of cookies and white bread and soda and junk. We can move to the next step, whole wheat bread, making healthier choices, better options that are better versions of what we're eating in step one. The staircase never ends. As you move up, you can eat more organically, eat cleaner, get rid of additives and preservatives and just those junky things they put in our foods, artificial sugars. And the staircase never ends, even for nutritionists. I can learn new recipes, learn about how other cultures are eating. All right, you see I get all fired up about this stuff. Let me wrap up here. Call to action for all of you. So can you and your clients balance your nutrition better? We talked about the plate. Where are you on the staircase? Where are your clients? Can we help them get up? A lot of that help is by listening to where they're at and learning and help them moving up that staircase. Can you, your clients, use a calorie calculator or food log? A lot of our clients are gaining weight in this COVID time, and that's tough. Logs like MyFitnessPal can be really helpful. Also, I want to end with, be your own science experiment. So important to keep trying new things, being open to new things. And then, as I mentioned earlier, let's unite in fitness and wellness, and let's get together and let's think of new ways of doing things. And I want to end by saying thank you to Sergeant Ken. Thank you for having me here.
Man, we're so blessed to have you on the team.
Thank you.
Oh man, and again, she's been my accountability partner. You know, while she was writing her book, Healthy Dividends, and putting that out, I had tried to stir up the courage to get through my own post-traumatic stress disorder and get really back into my own book, A Call to Courage. It's about my experiences that I had in Iraq as a team leader for a counterintelligence team, and while that's going, you know, here and there. It could be better. We did lift up my wife, Stephanie, for her book. And so I'm really glad between us all that we, and our accountability efforts, that we came through and put out this great material to help people triumph over tough times. So, you know, in the beginning, we talked about the power of the pause and how that necessary interruption really was important for me. And I could see by what was in the chat how it was important for you all. Now I want to end this webinar by talking about the power of perseverance. You see, I learned a lot over the last several weeks while at home, refreshing my spirit and restoring my faith about what is important in my life. The increase of my self-awareness, self-regulation, and mental agility did not come without some of the toughest tests that I have ever experienced. You cannot have a testimony without a trial. The pandemic reminded me to always see situations through the lenses of grace. That way, I can build powerful bridges and preserving bonds. Grace produces progress, not progress produces grace. I realize that I can profoundly love what I stopped to observe, and that the enemy of my heart was a head full of hurry. Once I slowed down with all of my travel and everything, I was able to operate with more empathy. And as Tricia so profoundly put out there, if the world had more empathy, then we would probably not see a lack of humanity that we see today. Some of us are so crowded in a cloud of confusion, calamity, and chaos, and cannot see the hope of connection and community around us. The cloud represents a lie, and the world outside of the cloud represents the truth. Once you step out of the cloud, you will be able to transform and bounce back better than before. Transformation doesn't happen all at once. It takes tiny steps forward to flourish. This is why your life matters. Your testimony is vital to somebody else. A big miracle can come from a bold mess. The challenge is that many of us have the strength to start something, but lose the power to preserve or to persevere. Example is, what type of workout works? The one you start or the one you stick with? You have a purpose. Don't be disappointed when someone tries to get in the way of your goals. You must have the power to persist when problems are in front of you. You know, I love metaphors. So listen when I say, you need to have the faith to stay on course, even if you don't know where the boat is going to dock. You need to believe that you are not just shining the light, that you are the light. An example of the power of persistence is to pray for progress in your life and not to complain about the type of travel that it is taking to get there. Finally, one of my 2-year-old daughter's favorite books is Wherever You Are, My Love Will Find You by Nancy Tillman. While reading the book the other night to her, something Tillman wrote stood out. So hold your head high and don't be afraid to march to the front of your own parade. Be courageous, courteous, and content. You are worthy, because these are not times to bring back what we had, but to bounce back better than before. My cup of life is just filled. It is just filled. And especially with everything that's going on right now, I'd like everyone to just go ahead and put your fist bump, a virtual fist bump for everybody right now, because we are standing and sitting together in unity. And it's yearning for unity and thriving with empathy and gratitude and grace that we will overcome during these tumultuous times. I'm just filled. I'm going to turn it over to you, Stephen, because I just have nothing more to say. I'm just filled.
I would say that you've said enough, Sergeant Ken. And thank you to all the speakers for being here tonight. And since our theme, of course, is gratitude is our attitude, some of the presenters have gotten together. We spent a little time here creating an experience that we believe everyone will be comfortable with. And I need to make sure I can find my audio. So you are seeing my screen, correct?
It's crazy. But that's just our lives lately.
I mean, that's literally, that's our life. And now we're sharing sound. And
yeah, while Steve is finding it, Steve and I, we talk nearly every single day, you know, and it's just been an amazing journey to build this Project Hope Academy.
And let's see.
And it's the 11th of August, 2016. And we're at CanFit Pro Toronto at the Boot Camp Instructor Course and Mentoring Program. This is level 2. And right now, they're doing the Army Physical Fitness Test. The particular event, the push-up. 2 minutes of the most push-ups that they can perform, all the way to muscle failure. And they're doing an awesome job. Hoo-ah!
Project Hope members, all in. I said, Project Hope members, all in. It's time to pay respect to the Weikerts. Cadence, call. Joseph, begin.
Just hold on. Rise to your feet. A special mission. Project Hope. Under the orders of Sergeant Ken and Stephen Weichert. Project Hope. To help those who cannot cope. We're going to spread our love with our hearts and not a road. Project Hope. Never been done before. From nation to nation, we come on this special mission. Showing the world how to transition.
1, 2, 3, 4. Sergeant Ken, we want some more. It says 1, 2, 3, 4. Sergeant Ken, we want some more.
The legacy lives within.
I used to drive a Chevrolet.
Wow.
We just all wanted to make sure that you knew how much we appreciated this effort that you've made and the platform you've given us. So we did a little work behind the scenes, and we just really want to say thank you and show the attitude of gratitude, my friend. We appreciate you very much. We really do.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Wow. Bless you guys. You guys are amazing. Bless you all. Please take the handout, take their notes, watch it again, share it with your friends, because this is only, Project Hope Academy is only going to be effective if you use it. So I say finally,
Everybody,
thank you.
If you have anything to say to Sergeant Ken, now would be the time.
Everybody, are we fired up? Hoorah!
Sergeant Ken!
Oh man, I love y'all. Y'all are amazing.
That was awesome.
I didn't know they were going to make that video. That's amazing.
Yeah. Woo!
All right.
You rock.
Let him.
Yo, baby! Come on!
Look,
Jerry.
next event in just a few days, as a matter of fact, and then a week after that. Stay tuned at Project Hope Academy, our closed group on Facebook. This entire thing was recorded and will be available for you to rewatch and to share on our closed Facebook and in many people's watch parties. Thank you for being a part of the solution instead of a part of the problem.
Thank you.
Woo! Woohoo! Yeah!